Sometimes you hear a story that just sounds, well, almost too wild to be true, like something straight out of a movie script.
Definitely.
But apparently, this is real life, or alleged real life, in Tamil Nadu. We're talking government jobs supposedly being bought and sold, with suitcases full of cash.
It's quite the picture, isn't it? And the name right in the middle of it all is K.T. Rajendra Balaji. He's a former minister with the AIADMK party there.
Yeah, a major party. And what really gets me, beyond just the boldness of it all, is where this supposedly happened.
Aavin, right. The state-run dairy cooperative.
Exactly. Aavin. It's like the place people get their milk. It seems so. Every day.
Uh-huh. And that makes you wonder, doesn't it? If it can happen there, could it be happening elsewhere, in places you wouldn't expect?
That's the unsettling part. So in this deep dive, we're really getting into what some are calling Tamil Nadu's dairy drama.
Catchy name.
It is. Our focus is squarely on this cash for jobs scandal that's really rocked Aavin. We're not aiming to get lost in legal speak or chase every single news update.
Right. More about understanding the core allegations, yeah. Against Balaji.
Precisely. Following the twists and turns through the courts and figuring out why this whole thing matters beyond just being another headline.
And Aavin's role is key here. It's not just any company.
No, it's huge in Tamil Nadu. Part of daily life.
Yeah.
Connects farmers and consumers.
Mm-hmm.
It's got this massive public presence.
So when trust in an institution like that gets shaken, it resonates. Big time.
And the main accusation, well, it's pretty explosive. We're looking at the period between 2016 and 2021.
While Balaji was the dairy minister.
Correct. And the allegation is that a whole system, a racket, was operating within Aavin and maybe even spilling into other government departments, selling jobs for cash.
And the figure mentioned is quite something.
3 crore rupees. That's roughly what, like 30 million rupees? It's a staggering amount.
It really is. It points to, well, potentially how desperate people are for stable jobs and maybe how organized this whole alleged scheme was.
Definitely seems organized. And we have 2 key people who've come forward, the complainants. It's Ravindran and K. Nalathambi.
Okay.
Ravindran claims he paid 30 lakh rupees. That's 3 million. A lot of money.
A huge sum. And what was the promise?
A job for his nephew.
Yeah.
Specifically district manager at Aavin.
Okay.
And then there's Nalathambi. His claim is even bigger. He alleges he handed over 1.6 crore rupees.
1.6 crore. Wow. For what jobs?
That part's less clear, just unspecified jobs.
Yeah.
But the point is they never materialized. Imagine that. Your savings potentially just gone.
And nothing to show for it. The scale Nalathambi mentions, 1.6 crore. It suggests this wasn't just a one-off, right? It hints at a wider network, perhaps.
Exactly. People collecting money, maybe passing it up the chain. It feels bigger.
Which naturally leads us to the legal side.
And oh boy, has that been a journey. It formally kicked off in November 2021. The police in Virudhunagar district filed an FIR.
The first information report. Based on Ravindran's complaint, was it?
Yes, based on Ravindran's story. So the wheels started turning. Slowly, perhaps?
Well, those initial steps are always crucial. The FIR gets the investigation officially rolling. But things didn't exactly go smoothly for Balaji early on.
No, they did not. By December 2021, he tried to get anticipatory bail. Bail before you're potentially arrested. But the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court, they said no, rejected it.
Okay, so that's a setback for him.
A big one. And that's when things took a really dramatic turn. Balaji essentially disappeared, went AWOL, as they say.
Really? A former minister on the run?
Yep. Lookout notices went out. Police teams were searching all over Tamil Nadu, even in Kerala and Karnataka. It sounds like a manhunt.
That's quite extraordinary. It speaks volumes about how serious the charges were perceived to be.
Totally. Then fast forward to January 2022, they finally caught up with him. Arrested him in Hassan, Karnataka.
Okay, so the chase ended there.
But the legal roller coaster, not even close to over. Less than a week after his arrest, the Supreme Court steps in.
India's highest court, what did they do?
They granted him temporary bail, interim bail.
On what grounds? That seems quick.
Their reasoning was very specific.
Yeah.
They felt the police arrested him while his separate bail request was still technically pending before the Supreme Court itself, sort of a procedural issue.
Ah, okay. So less about the charges themselves, more about the process the police followed.
Exactly. It was an interesting move, highlighting the importance of procedure even in high-profile cases.
So where did things go from there? We jump ahead a bit.
Yeah, let's fast forward to the beginning of 2025. It seems the Madras High Court was losing patience with how slowly the case was progressing.
Right. Years had passed since the FIR.
Correct. So on January 6, 2025, The High Court ordered the whole investigation transferred
To whom?
to the CBI, the Central Bureau of Investigation, India's federal agency.
Okay, that's a significant step. Why did the High Court do that?
They basically said the state government's investigation, run by the state police, wasn't moving fast enough. Crucially, no charge sheet had been filed yet. You could sense the frustration.
Bringing in the CBI often signals a lack of faith in the state agency, or maybe a feeling that a more independent, perhaps powerful agency is needed.
Makes sense. But the Tamil Nadu government, they weren't happy about this at all.
I can imagine state versus center tensions often flare up in these situations.
They pushed back hard. They argued, hey, we have made progress. We have a charge sheet ready.
But it wasn't filed.
No, they said they were waiting for permission. Specifically, sanction from the governor of Tamil Nadu.
Ah, the governor, appointed by the central government. Sanctioned to prosecute under the Prevention of Corruption Act.
That's the one. So it became this standoff. State says they're ready, but need the governor's nod. High Court orders CBI takeover.
A classic jurisdictional tussle, almost.
Pretty much. And guess where it ended up?
Back at the Supreme Court.
You got it. On March 17th, 2025, the Supreme Court hit pause on the CBI probe.
Okay, why this time?
They said, essentially, let's wait and see what the governor decides about this prosecution sanction. They even gave the state government 2 weeks to translate all the necessary documents for the governor.
Translation, that seems specific.
Right. You'd think they'd have that ready.
Yeah.
But yes, translation needed, 2-week deadline, the Supreme Court acting like a referee, trying to ensure all the boxes were ticked.
It shows how procedural steps, even translation, can become critical points in these legal battles.
Absolutely. Which leads us almost to the present day, April 15th, 2025.
What happened then?
The Tamil Nadu government informed the Supreme Court. Mission accomplished. Governor Ravi had finally granted the sanction to prosecute Balaji.
Okay. That sounds like a major breakthrough for the prosecution.
It definitely is. Under Section 19 of the Prevention of Corruption Act, that governor's approval is crucial before you can formally charge a public servant like a former minister.
It's a safeguard, really, meant to prevent baseless cases.
Yeah.
So the path is clear now.
Well, here's the catch. Even with the governor's sanction in hand, as of our recording, that formal charge sheet still hasn't actually been filed in court.
So sanction granted, but the final step of filing the charges still pending.
Exactly. It feels like one step forward, then a pause. Again.
The sanction gives the green light, but compiling and finalizing that charge sheet, ensuring all evidence is properly documented, that still takes time, I suppose.
Meanwhile, Balaji's legal team isn't sitting idle. They're still fighting that original High Court order to transfer the case to the CBI.
What's their argument?
Led by a senior advocate, V. Giri, they're arguing the High Court's decision was rushed and lacked cogent reasons. They clearly want the state police, not the CBI, handling this.
Their strategy would likely be that the state police already did the groundwork, and bringing the CBI now would just delay things further, potentially harming their client's case.
Makes sense from their perspective. So look, we've gone through a lot of legal back and forth, but maybe we should pull back a bit. Why should someone listening, maybe outside Tamil Nadu, really care about this?
Well, I think at its heart, it's about trust, isn't it? Trust in the system. If people feel they're being cheated out of their money, their life savings maybe, for a job that was never real, especially a government job, which so many people see as a path to security, it just erodes faith in fairness, in meritocracy.
Absolutely. Think about young people in Tamil Nadu, or anywhere really. They study hard, they hope for a stable future, often through a government position. A scandal like this must feel like such a kick in the teeth.
It's a huge blow to those aspirations. And think about the money itself, that crore.
Yeah.
What could that have done? Scholarships, school improvements, maybe even support for Aavin itself, the dairy farmers. It just highlights the cost of alleged corruption.
That's a really good point. And the timeline, too. 2021, the complaint is filed. We're now in 2025. 4 years.
And still no charge sheet filed. It does raise questions about the pace of justice, especially when powerful figures are involved. Does it create a perception that accountability can be delayed? Perhaps indefinitely.
It certainly could. Let's quickly recap the key players, put some faces to the names.
Okay.
K.T. Rajendra Balaji, former AIADMK dairy minister. Accused mastermind, apparently known for some fiery public statements.
Yes, he's had a reputation for being quite outspoken. I remember reading about a comment he made about actor Kamal Hassan's tongue once. It gives you a sense of his style.
Right. Adds a layer, though obviously the focus is on the allegations. Then S. Ravindran.
The first complainant. The one who allegedly paid 30 lakh for his nephew's job. The one who kicked this all off.
And K. Nalathambi, the other complainant. Interestingly, a former AIADMK member himself.
And the one who allegedly collected that massive euro 1.6 crore sum. His role seems potentially complex.
Definitely. Then we have Governor Ravi, who eventually gave the sanction.
A key figure in the recent developments.
The Supreme Court Justices, Pankaj Mithal and S.V.N. Badi, who've been overseeing the legal wrangling.
Trying to navigate the procedural complexities.
And the CBI, waiting in the wings, sort of. Quite a cast.
It really is, each playing a specific part in how this unfolds.
You know, there's almost a dark humor to it all. Selling jobs like milk packets.
But with no best before date, apparently.
Need that huge price tag.
Yeah.
And waiting for document translation in 2025. It's just...
Wow. Sometimes the bureaucratic hurdles in these big cases can seem almost absurd when you consider the gravity of the accusations.
Zooming out again, this isn't happening in a vacuum, is it? There were other controversies surrounding the AIADMK government from that 2011-2021 period.
That's true. The Gupka scam, for instance, was another major allegation they faced. It's important context.
But it's also fair to say allegations aren't unique to one party, right? The current DMK government has faced its own scrutiny.
Absolutely. Corruption allegations often span the political spectrum. And we've seen tensions between the current state government and Governor Ravi on other issues, too.
Yeah, I remember back in 2023, the state law minister accused the governor of bias, basically, and how he handled prosecution requests for former AIADMK ministers versus DMK figures.
Right. So there's always this undercurrent of political tension influencing how these things play out. It's rarely just about the legal facts in isolation.
Which brings us back to the core issue, accountability and trust in public institutions, like Aavin.
Exactly. People need to believe that hiring is fair, that it's based on merit, not connections or cash.
When that trust is broken, or perceived to be broken, it damages the whole system. This case, however it concludes, sends a message.
It really does. It's about the integrity of public service. Ensuring merit-based systems is fundamental.
So just to summarize where we are right now, governor's sanction, granted.
Check.
Prosecution needs to file the charge sheet. Still pending.
Still pending.
Supreme Court's pause on the CBI probe. Still in effect.
Correct. Holding pattern on that front.
So the big questions remain. Will the prosecution actually build a solid case now they have the sanction?
That's the $1 million or maybe the 3 crore rupee question. They need strong evidence.
What will Balaji's defense strategy be? He's fought tooth and nail so far.
We can expect a vigorous defense, challenging the evidence, perhaps the procedures, maybe even the motivations behind the case.
And politically, what does this mean for him? Can he bounce back from this?
That's hard to say. A conviction would obviously be a major blow. Even without one, the lengthy scandal itself could have lasting political damage. It will be watched very closely in Tamil Nadu.
This whole dairy drama, it really is a reminder, isn't it, about staying informed, questioning things.
Absolutely. It highlights why we need transparency and why citizens need to demand accountability from public officials and institutions.
So we'll definitely keep following this. It's complex, it's ongoing, and it matters.
It certainly does. Understanding these cases helps us understand the challenges of governance and justice.
And one final thought to leave everyone with. Considering everything we've discussed, all the delays, the legal maneuvering, the political angles, what do you think is the single biggest barrier to getting real accountability in cases like this?
That's a tough one. Is it political influence? Procedural loopholes, the sheer time it takes?
Or maybe something else entirely. And if you could wave a magic wand and make one change to the system to prevent these kinds of scandals, or at least ensure justice is faster and fairer, what would that one change be? Something to chew on.